Welcome back. Today I have a major problem in my garden. It's right behind me. It's right there. I have Japanese beetles all over my pole beans. This happens every year. I don't know why pole beans, at least here, are way more susceptible to Japanese beetle damage than my bush beans are. That's why I usually plant way more bush green beans than I do pole beans, because these Japanese beetles just turn my pole bean leaves into lace overnight. And I just realized they have arrived, and so I'm going to try to go ahead and get on top of this problem now. And this is something I will come out and do daily or as often as possible. And I have two things that I come out and I do, okay? So I'm going to share these with you. They're both organic, sort of like solutions to pest problems. I also have an ant hill that has mounded up in one of my raised beds. I didn't figure that out till I pulled a weed and my hand was just covered in ants. So I'm going to be using one of these on that ant hill as well. So the first thing I'm going to be using is Diatomaceous Earth. I actually buy this in bulk because I use it on my goats, dogs, chickens, plants, you name it. I use Diatomaceous Earth for it. Okay, so let me give you a really quick, simple definition of what Diatomaceous Earth is in case you've never heard of it and what it does, okay? So basically it is fossilized remains of these little microscopic sea creatures that were called diatoms, which is where we get the word diatomaceous earth from. How this powder works is it is, I believe it's silica, or that is what the little diatoms were made of, and that causes like little cuts in any type of bug that has an exoskeleton. When the powder comes in contact with any bug that has an exoskeleton, the powder, if you looked at underneath the microscope, would look like it has lots of little jagged edges. This causes lots of cuts, sort of like a bunch of paper cuts in the bugs that have exoskeletons. It cuts their exoskeleton. This causes the bugs to lose fluids, to dehydrate, and it kills the bug. So that is how it effectively kills specifically bugs with exoskeletons, okay? So this is going to be useful for like what I'm using it for today, for like these Japanese beetles. It can be used in ants. But the problem with using Diatomaceous Earth can be, yes, it is effective in killing bugs with exoskeletons. The problem with that is that your pollinators, most of them, or all of them maybe, I don't know, have exoskeletons as well. As I have a bee flying around me right now. I don't know if you can see it zipping around me, is angry with me for some reason. Is that you can hurt your pollinators. So to try to combat this, or try to mitigate the possibility of hurting your pollinators, which obviously I need in my garden, what I will be doing is, it is late in the evening here. There are very few bees out at the moment, or butterflies or anything of that nature. It's about 7 o'clock here in the evening. So I'll wait till the evening time to apply Diatomaceous Earth when I'm going to be using it. And then I'm also going to be trying to only apply this to the leaves of these green bean plants, or only to the ant hill that I'm going to be applying it to. I'm going to try to avoid getting this Diatomaceous Earth on the any blooms or blossoms, anything that's attracting pollinators, or where pollinators are going to be landing. I want to try to avoid those areas and not get any Diatomaceous Earth on that, okay? So some people do not like to use Diatomaceous Earth because of the possibility of harming pollinators. I try to use it sparingly. So like with anything, use it with caution. Try to just use common sense when you're using Diatomaceous Earth, and not put it on your flowers, so that you're not killing your pollinators as well. And one last thing about Diatomaceous Earth is that it does become ineffective once it gets wet. So you could put it on your flowers, on your leaves of your plants that you're having pest issues with, like say in the evening, and leave it on there for a few pest time to come in contact with the Diatomaceous Earth and get that on their exoskeletons. And then later that night, maybe like after it's dark, come through and rinse everything off well with a water hose. Maybe you could do something like that, and that might help mitigate the risk of pollinators getting into it the next morning, because most pollinators are most active in the morning times. So diatomaceous earth is the first thing I'm going to use. I'll also show you another method, and that is just by, down here, I'd set it down, using a big bowl of soapy water. The soapy water, it clogs up something in the bug's exoskeleton as well, maybe in the thorax, and causes it to not be able to breathe. It like suffocates it basically. And this could be used on like any type of bug as well. What I do, so you can put it in a spray ball and you can spray the soapy water on it. I'm not even doing that at the moment. I'm just going to knock the Japanese beetles into this, and then that will kill them. Sometimes I'll just walk around with a bowl of soapy water. This is just Dawn dish liquid. Sometimes I will walk around with a bowl of this soapy water, and I will just go through every bed really quick, and every bug that I see, just pick it off really quick and drop it in the bowl, like any type of caterpillars or worms, Japanese beetles, just anything of that nature. I'll just drop them all into the bowl and it kills them. So two methods there, that both are organic. I personally like, the safest thing is just to carry it in a bowl. Once again, if you're spraying this on everything, you take a chance on harming your pollinators, as well as, you know, the good guys as well as the bad guys. But if you are you know, just knocking them into the bowl, you'll be less likely to harm anything. So let me turn this around and show you where the Japanese beetles are. Okay guys, so there's what they have done in one day. Yesterday when I came out, this was not like this. In one day, this is what they have done. They will totally decimate my pole beans if I do not stay on top of them. So basically what I just do is, like, I put this underneath here, and then there went one into the water already. I'll knock them in there like that, but I can't do that and hold this at the same time. Let's see if we find some more on the other side. Just gonna hold it underneath here, and then I'm going to knock that in, and you can see him in there. There he is. Okay. So to me, that is the safest way to do this. I'll just go around and I'll hold this underneath it, and then just knock them off of the plants. Okay, so there's some more. Actually, I think that one just flew into the water. Okay. And this is what I find intriguing, is that you can see how much damage they have done to the pole beans. Down here are my bush beans. No damage at all. No damage at all. Look at that. Isn't that strange? Bush beans, pole beans. I don't have a good answer for why that is, but that is the way it is, at least for me. Okay, and so since they are really just loving getting on these leaves, I'm going to try to avoid the actual like my little buds that are happening up here, and I'm going to try to just sprinkle my diatomaceous earth on the leaves like this. Okay, I'm going to give them a good coating. Just shaking it on there. Like I said, I'm trying to avoid anything that has any type of blossoms on it right now at the moment. Okay, it's the leaves that they want, so that's why I'm gonna try to really coat my leaves good in this, so that when they land on these, so it doesn't look the best, but maybe that will help kill off any of the ones that land here in the future. Okay, so I have my other bean teepee here. They are just now finding this one. So I see one on the top there. I'm going to try to get him. They haven't really done a lot of damage here yet. They just haven't found it, I guess. And what I meant by blossoms is like down here where my bush beans are. See how they are putting on flowers? That's where I do not want to get the diatomaceous earth, if at all possible, because that's where my bees and pollinators are going to be going. So if I can avoid these areas where there are the actual blossoms or blooms, then we're going to avoid, hopefully, being able, hurting our pollinators. Okay, okay guys, so that is how I just do, I try to do quick maintenance on when I start to see any type of pest that is coming into the garden. The second tip I want to give you on pests in general is, I don't know if you can tell here, but this is where I dusted my first bean TP with the diatomaceous earth. Then I have a bed that does not have any beans in it, and then so there's a bed in between this group of pole beans and the next group of pole beans, in between where you see this black fence. That is tomatoes. Okay, so another thing that I do to try to mitigate pest pressure is I try not to plant any of my raised beds back to back with the same crop. So I have a bed in between each one of my tomatoes, like where I'm standing in front of me there is a bed of tomatoes, and then I have a bed of squash and green beans, and then I have another bed of tomatoes, and then I have another bed of beans and squash, and then I have another bed of tomatoes. I have barriers in between my crops, and this is so that let's just say I really start to get hornworm damage on my tomatoes, that they can't just wipe out this whole bed of tomatoes and only have to go 3 feet to wipe out the next bed of tomatoes. They're spread out all over my garden, so even if one little area starts to really get a low overload of pests, what I have found to be true is that they will, really work where they already are before they move to the next spot. They're going to do what's easiest, and so by spreading out and staggering what you plant and where you plant it, you are going to increase your likelihood of not having an entire crop totally wiped out by one pest. So I have tomatoes on this side of the garden, I have tomatoes on the other side of the garden. We got a decent amount of space in between tomato beds here, and I have these bean TPs, like I said, are spread out, and as I showed you, this one has already been found by the Japanese beetles, but the other one had not. It had only had 2 Japanese beetles on it, and it had not yet been severely affected. And then over here on this side where you see this bean TP, I just planted those pole beans, so those will be way behind these, and hopefully what usually does happen is when I plant a later crop of pole beans, the beetles have moved on by then. By the time they really get to a stage where they're flowering and getting ready to put on their beans, usually the Japanese beetles are pretty much gone by then anyway. So that entire TP likely will not have any, and hopefully will not have any Japanese beetle damage at all. Really, Japanese beetles are the one main thing. Squash bugs and Japanese beetles are really the only 2 things that I really struggle a lot with. Where I am, those are 2 things I have to fight against continually. So just by spreading them out, you can really cut down on the pest pressure, because those pests don't really want to work super hard. They're going to go to what's convenient for them. So if you plant 50 feet of green beans, they're going to go bean to bean to bean plant and just keep going. But if you put a break in between those, even if you're planting in ground and planting in rows, you could plant half a row and then plant something else, and then skip a few rows and then plant another round of the same thing. I just wouldn't put all of my eggs in one basket in any garden, because you're just making it too easy for the pests to find a crop that they like and then just decimate it. Do this with my potatoes. I try to scatter them, carrots, basically everything I plant, I stagger it out so that we have at least one bed in between, and that they're not all together. And that has saved me a lot of time and headache when it comes to fighting pests, and by having my entire garden crop wiped out. Even if this bean TP does get wiped out by Japanese beetles, maybe that one will fare a little bit better. And so by not, like I said, putting all my eggs in one basket, this really helps me have a better overall crop at the end, harvest at the end. So that diatomaceous earth, also, when I said that I use it on my goats and chickens, it is also a good flea preventative and mite preventative, because it will also kill those. So the only thing is you would have to apply it daily, but it is all natural. Some people put diatomaceous earth in their pets' food. I have mixed it in with my chicken feed from time to time. This cuts down on worm pressure. You can mix it in with your goat food or whatever, and that will help cut down on the worm loads of goats and chickens as well, and it does work. Once again, it has to be done consistently, like with most natural things. It's not a one-time cure-all. It's because we get used to like chemical flea drops on a dog, or chemical pesticide spray that you would put on a garden that lasts for a really long time. Most natural products are not like that. They're something that you're really going to have to use almost on the daily, not daily, weekly. So you're going to use it a lot more often, but it's going to be natural, and you're not going to be taking a chance on getting sick. So I always opt to go with the natural first. Soapy water is always a great trick for those bugs, especially if you can see them and get your hands on them right then. I would grab the soapy bucket of water first, and I mean, who doesn't have soapy dish soap in a bowl somewhere sitting around? So that's the easiest, probably the safest way, is just to pick off those bugs and knock them in the bowl, and keep down on your pest pressure that way. Hope these couple of tips have helped you, and give them a try. And I buy my diatomaceous earth at our feed store. I buy it at either Tractor Supply or Rural King. You can buy it on Amazon. I buy it in a large bag, but you can also buy it in a smaller, like in a shaker bottle, and you can buy food grade as well. So yeah, just some quick tips to help you get rid of those pests naturally. Have a good day, guys. Bye.